Welcome, you're in the no-flop zone. You're taking time out with myself, Boti Nagy, and with Joey Wright. We've got some things to talk about in this off-season, but before we get into it, just a quick reminder, subscribe. We've broken the 700 barrier. We're really quite on our way to 1,000, so we just need a few more of you to hit that subscribe button because we're going to be active in the off-season, bringing you stuff that no one else is. But let's start with what's already happened. Like we were talking last week about Melbourne United, and already Jack White's come out and said he's going to explore his options. These are obviously overseas options where if nothing happens, he can fall back on Melbourne United. But when you've got member of the Denver Nuggets, NBA champion, on your resume, I'm sure he's going to get picked up somewhere.
I think he'll definitely get a look somewhere. I think it'd be advantageous for him to return back to Melbourne. He didn't, to me, have a year where he can stand alone. Like when you go to Europe, you better be ready to stand alone because it's challenging. So I don't think he had that year where he presented that way. So it'd be nice for him to return back to Melbourne United, show that he can be a leader and run a team, own a team, be the man, and then probably look at getting to Europe.
You don't think there's a sense of the way it ended for him, and when he went to the foul line or the free throw line in the last few games of a championship, he had that fearful look. You don't think he just wants to get away from this environment for a while, reset somewhere else?
Well, he better not run to an environment where there's 25,000 people with torches and flames
and pitchforks.
And if you miss this free throw, we might slice your neck. I don't think that's the place for him. Okay. And that's where he's going if he leaves here.
Let's talk Kendric Davis because it's no surprise that he's not coming back to Adelaide. I mean, we know that he and Mike Wells can't coexist. I believe I've heard that Matt Weston, the CEO of basketball operations, went over to China to try and talk him into coming back, which to me sounds like a fantastic trip to take because you could call him on the phone, you could do a Zoom, but hey, let's go to China to waste some money on a guy that's not coming back. But Perth, you see him in Perth?
I could see him playing for Perth. I mean, just because we know they have a big ticket guy leaving in Bryce, which I was definitely wrong on. I thought Bryce would stay.
So that day you were Joey wrong.
That day I was once wrong. No, I definitely think that you could see him down in Perth because they do have the money. You can see him playing with those guys down in Perth. I don't see him flourishing in John Riley's system because John's gonna hold him accountable.
Do you see Matthew Dellavedova flourishing in that system because he has been spotted in Perth this week?
I do. I see Matt. Delly can play for any team anywhere in the world because of how he plays and approaches the game, and hence the reason why he's played in the NBA. His approach is a professional approach. He's going to make other people around him better. He's going to play hard. You can say what you will or won't about his talents, but he's a great human, and it's just rare nowadays to find a great human that can play basketball.
Right. Okay, let's stay with the 36ers for just a brief moment. I've heard a very strong rumour that Nick Marvin, who you'll remember was the very successful CEO of the Perth Wildcats, that helped bring them into that run where they've sort of now won 10 championships, that he's now acting for the 36ers in terms of looking at players and other aspects of the club. Is this good or bad, given that you've already got the owner, you've got a CEO, you've got a CEO of basketball, and now you've got Nick Marvin as well.
Just look like somebody's looking for friends. Talent wasn't an issue last year. Yeah. And I love Nick Marvin. Nick Marvin's great. I almost came close to having the opportunity to work with Nick, which I wish I would have. I think he's a great operator.
Yes.
But I don't think talent is the issue. And I don't think bringing in anybody new is the issue. They got to figure out what to do with what's already there.
Speaking of what's already there and what's not going to be there, Montrezl Harrell is not going to be there, by the looks of things.
No surprise. I mean, I think it'd be big ticket item for him to come back for a whole year here, playing the whole year. His price tag would go through the roof. He can go play in a EuroLeague team and pick up a couple $1 million tax-free.
So you don't see him in any other NBL lineup?
Only way I see him coming back to an NBL lineup is if it's a lineup that or in the area that he feels like, if he's in Sydney or Melbourne, where he feels the lifestyle supersedes the basketball and he wants to enjoy some of the lifestyle. But if it's purely a basketball move, it'd be stupid for him to come back to this. He was too dominant for this league. I don't think we've given him enough credit for how dominant he was. I hadn't seen anybody as dominant on the block as him, one-on-one in the entire leagues, in the history of the league. So I think he was tough, but I don't see him back here again.
You didn't see James Crawford play, did you?
I didn't. I did.
All right.
I did.
Okay, let's move along.
When I played against James Crawford, he was a dunker.
Yeah, but
he wasn't to give the ball to on the block and go one-on-one.
Yeah, he was an older man then.
Okay.
Let's talk Keanu Pinder.
Yeah.
What do you see for him? Because he's a free agent, and it doesn't look like he's reluctant to re-sign, but he's obviously exploring options.
Well, this is the day and age of explore my options.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, every kid thinks he's Michael Jordan and he needs to go out and look around and take a look. And because of that, it's so much movement everywhere that all teams have to take a look. I think Keanu stays. I hope he stays. I think it was a great system, great fit for him. I'm sure they compensated him accordingly. But he could probably go to Japan and probably get a little bit practice tag.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we've got a few imports that are free agents. Trey Kell, Milton Doyle, Parker Jackson Cartwright, Matt Hurt, Jalen Adams.
Some big names, not Jalen Adams, but the rest.
You're not a fan of Jalen, let's be honest.
I'm not a fan of Jalen, so that's
okay.
Put on record. Look at some big names in there. If you've already starred in a club and they're paying you accordingly, it makes sense to stay there at that club.
Yeah.
So Matt Hurt, he had a phenomenal year. I'm sure he's going to be looking for some more funds. And if they're willing to come to the table, he should stay. He did a really good job there at that club.
I've also heard that with Illawarra, and you know that they're looking to try and bring everybody back, but that Gary Clark is interested in coming back. Now, Darius Days wasn't an improvement on him, so if you bring in Gary Clark, you actually probably improve them a fraction, and you also get to get through those early parts of the season when Sam Froling is still in rehab or recovering from his injury.
Yeah. I like that move. I like Darius Days, but I was a little disappointed when he was injured and he came back a bit overweight. That tells me a little bit about a human being. During that period of time, he really should have cracked down. If he was a true professional, he would have cracked down and made sure that he didn't come back looking like he did.
Yeah, that's the mistake you make when you take on the Lamar Patterson diet.
I don't know if you can say that.
Well, maybe we'll have to cut that out. Okay. I was surprised to see that Melbourne United only have Chris Goulding, Tanner Krebs, and Dash Daniels contracted.
You know what? They're the cornerstone. They're the benchmark. They have the funds, so it doesn't matter.
Right.
Like when you have the money, it doesn't matter. Like you can go out and get who you want. It might be it's 3 guys you can get if you got the money. If you don't have the money, then it doesn't make a difference. So they're who they have, who they don't have is irrelevant. They can go out and buy the best players in the league.
Right, and guys like O'Shea, they'll hang around. They're not going to be
you would think
running off anytime soon. Okay, we've got the apology from Xavier Cooks, a public apology for his error in judgment. I think that's all just going to go away now, and we can get on with it.
Look, I think it'll go away. I think he is probably looking to try to play a little basketball outside of the country. If that can happen, I think the interest will die down over a while. It'll be a few jokes coming out of Illawarra next year, and
for sure.
And but not like the old days where you go into Townsville and they do their research and they would just lay it on the line with all the stuff, and it was pretty accurate.
Okay, Nathan Sobey, your favourite player, has re-signed with South East Melbourne.
I think it's great for them. Yeah, I think it's great for them. I think that's one of the best years he's put together. If you take out maybe the beginning of that year, he had a really solid year, and I thought Josh King did a great job with him.
Is he in transition now to that point where he's more conscious of what he contributes to the team's success rather than what he contributes to his own successes? Have you seen that shift?
I want to say I saw it. That's what it looked like. That's what it looked like, where he's like, okay, let me look for some more team success. I've done my thing. I've been the hero. I've gotten a medal at the Olympics. Let me now win a championship. Let me now, because he's fit in with this team better than I've seen him fit in with anyone.
Right. And in New Zealand, the new owner is Mark Mitchell. He's trying to get back to the people. He's got Dylan Boucher back involved in an administrative position. You're sort of thinking, okay, they're going to go in the right direction now.
What they're trying to do is exactly what I would do. Like, he's bringing back the people that meant something to New Zealand basketball. Somebody who meant a lot to Auckland in itself, and Dylan, and just bringing the people back. I think they're going to do really well, and I hope they survive.
Okay, let's move on to some viewers' topics.
Okay.
We've got some good ones. Colleen Lander, she's a friend of mine from Cairns, says, what is your stance on the MVP voting for the finals? If you don't agree, what would be your voting system? Because Delhi certainly earned a lot of respect for his sportsmanship action, but should he and Hickey have even been put in such an awkward situation? So the real questions, just for the benefit of those viewers who don't know, there was a panel of 5. They each voted 3-2-1 on all 5 games, tallied it up, and Matthew Dellavedova was the winner, 34 votes. Second was Dave Hickey with 31. So that's how it was done. What do you think?
Definitely needs to change if the system doesn't pick the best player. So the system didn't pick the best player for the MVP. Dave Hickey should have been MVP, so it needs to be changed. One, I would never, ever even consider giving the MVP trophy to someone who's on the losing side.
Right.
That don't even count. So that would be the first deal. It's only going to go to the winning team, and it's going to whoever had the highest votes on the winning team. I wouldn't give it.
What if you had a series that went 5 games, and the last game, was tight as well, and you've got someone on that losing team who's averaged a triple-double through the thing, and you still wouldn't.
You don't get it. You don't get it. I mean, that's just sport. I mean, we're playing this thing to win. Maybe if you could go as far as to say, yeah, he averaged a triple-double, but if he didn't average a triple-double, maybe this player's attitude, he would have stepped up, and this player would have done better.
Yeah, that's good.
There's so many scenarios you can throw around. Only the winning team.
Okay. See, I've had a little bit of a think about it, and I've thought, if the series only goes 3 games, if it's a sweep, then you're 3-2-1. That's fair enough, because it'll be quickly decided. But game 4, you've basically you're playing it to survive because you're 2-1 down, so your back's against the wall. So the votes for that should be worth more. So I go 3-2-1 in the first 3 games where you can
Dangerous game.
No, hear me out. And then in games 4, and if it goes to 5, the voting is still the same, except instead of 3-2-1, it's 5-3-1. Just on games 4 and 5. Because if it's gone that far, because honestly,
what if you hadn't done anything all the first 2 games and just have a great game 4?
Then the best you can do is you can get 25 votes. If all 5 of the panelists give you, that's it. That's what you're going to get.
But
Delhi got 34 on a 3-2-1. All I'm saying is, I looked at the votes as they were cast, and just for the sake of the exercise, I changed games 4 and 5 to 5-3-1 instead of 3-2-1, and William Hickey won comfortably.
Well, without all that, that's to me way too cumbersome. With all that, just let's say, who's the best player on the winning team? It was obvious to the entire basketball community who won.
No question.
No question.
Yeah.
Like it was obvious.
Yeah.
On Coach of the Year.
yeah. And it has been many times.
Many times before.
See, so what you're basically saying is it's just the eye test. Look, you know who the best player was.
But
who makes the call? Is it Larry Sengstock, as the medal is named after him?
No, well, I think the group get together and so say, we're all basketball people. We understand basketball. Who do you think? I mean, it was obvious. Every one of them would have said Dave Hickey.
All right. Aaron Gogol says, Bryce is leaving Perth. Yep, we know this. What imports do Perth go for, given they've got all that room in the budget to spend? Well, we've already spoken about the possibility of Davis or the possibility of Delhi. Is there anyone else?
Well, I definitely would take a look at Delhi, but with the money they have at Perth, I'm not rushing for anything. I'm going to go to Summer League and have a good look. Recycling another import, not really what I'd be interested in at the guard position.
Yeah.
It's enough guys under 6'2" that you can go get a really, really talented player in the States.
Okay, he's also got a question about designing your own Adelaide jersey, which I think we might get to next week because I've got a couple of ideas. Moving on, he says, if Joey doesn't want to coach anymore, How about a super coach next season? And, we'd run the Super League where you attach various levels of importance to players depending on their statistics, and you pick a team each week. Would you
Offensively?
Yeah.
No, I have no idea. I wouldn't have a clue about it. And yes, I've never been a statistical coach anyway. I coach more on field anyway. I didn't grab a stat sheet at the end of the games and go, hey, you were important because of these numbers.
I test and you trust. Yeah. Okay, Ballaholics back. He says, do you guys think Cairns can ever win the championship? They not only have to select the right Australian talent and get the most out of it, they also have to get the right imports and not be hit by the injury bug. So they need a near perfect season. Is that possible?
Yeah, they've been to 2 grand finals under Aaron Perth.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely possible, and they were right there in those grand finals and close to winning it. The difference in any mid-market team, all right, you don't have that many chances to go wrong. So you have an injury, it could end your season.
Tasmania.
Yeah, Tasmania. It could end your season. If you're a big market team like Sydney and Melbourne, Perth, they can recover. So they have what's called basketball insurance. So if one guy gets hurt, we'll bring in another guy. If they get hurt, we'll bring in another guy. So they can usually do that. Melbourne, they can do that 2 or 3 times before the end of the season. Where some teams you can't. You can't do that once. And so Cairns would have to, it had to go right for them. Things would have to line up. Injury bugs couldn't be high. But yeah, they can definitely do it.
Yeah. 2 grand finals, and both with the distance, and Keanu Buck will have to hit that amazing shot to knock them off. So yeah. Okay, as players and coaches, is it misunderstood by fans how much time you commit to the game?
Hell yes. You ain't got to go no further. Yes. You got some more to read? Do I need to say anything more? Look, if fans...
He said, I feel fans' attitude towards coaches and players is, be quiet, you get heaps of money.
Well, I don't know if that's their... I think they just want you to dance for them a little bit more. And when you lose, I think they feel like they hurt more than you do. I didn't sleep on nights we lost.
Yeah.
Just did not sleep. I watched the game sometimes 3 times after we lost the game before I even could calm myself back down again.
Yeah.
Like, it's what we put in and what we give. No one outside of that circle has a right to say one single word. We do know that they will. All right, and we do know that we need our fans. But I, as a coach or a player, never catered to the fans. Like, I never, whether they were there or not. So up in Europe, we played in gyms with no fans.
Yeah.
Didn't bother me at all. Well, other players like, I can't believe this. Didn't bother me at all.
Right. When a star player is injured and an unknown steps up and plays fantastically well, does it create a problem for you as a coach in terms of, 1, who gets the minutes when they're both healthy, and 2, potentially being one to a new team or losing the guy to a new team come free agency?
Not for me. I've always wanted more talent. I never thought, diminish talent or suppress someone's, abilities so that someone stars. If I got 2 people stepped up, hence the year we had Creek went down, Sobey stepped up, became a star in the league, Creek came back and fit him in perfect.
Here's a good one, because this intrigued me as a coach sometimes as well. If your team is down big and the bench unit makes the comeback, come late in the 4th quarter, what do? Do you go back to your starters, or do you go with the guys who dug the team out of the hole?
You go with who you think's going to help you win the game.
Right.
Regardless if it's a starter or a bench player. We're a team.
Mm-hmm.
And I think me and you've talked about this before, I think the most overrated stat in basketball is who starts. If you got a really good team, as you've seen Illawarra Hawks and Melbourne United, the guy in your same position is cheering just as hard for the person on the floor, and vice versa when it comes to the bench. And that's what you want. And so that's what, in great teams, you're going to have that.
Yeah, and also sometimes the guys that dug you out of the hole that may not play as much, you can see them hitting the wall, and you have to make the change. Other times they're rolling and you go, no, stay with that. Joey, as coach, what one player gave you nightmares? We're not talking about someone that you coached, because we all know the answer to that one. The player that you knew, no matter what defense you threw at him, no matter what matchup you were going to be in for a long night.
Post-Bryce.
Yeah. Easy one.
Yeah, that's an easy one. We tried everything on nights for Bryce, everything, and he still would be successful. I mean, we bumped, physical, trap, press. We tried everything, and then we drop our focus for a little bit, and then boom, 2 threes and a couple free throws, and he's on the run.
Yeah, he just doesn't stop, does he? He's relentless.
He's looking every single time he's get the ball. He's looking to put pressure on you, not just with the ball. Every cut is a great cut. Every screen he sets is a great screen. Every screen he uses is a great screen. Every handoff he comes off ready and tight. Like all the basic fundamentals to be successful on the offensive end, he does every single time. Players should, sometimes they come off pick and rolls. They're too high. They're not, using them. He does every one of them right.
The fake maker. With the Kendric Davis news out, could you give us some insight to the pitch process, especially as Joey has said he's done with coaching at this level, so no trade secrets to give up. Has a coach's pitch ever gone in an unexpected direction? So I guess we're talking you specifically or anything you know about.
As far as
just some insight into when you're sitting down one-on-one with a guy and you're trying to entice him.
The one thing I had in my favor is players wanted to play for me. So I knew going to the table, it was usually going to come down to a positional thing or money. Most of the time, money. Just when I was at Brisbane, money wasn't really an issue for us. We were able to go out and people wanted to play for me and we had the money. So it was easy, really easy. The next 2 clubs, I didn't really have the financial clout. So it had to come down to position. And I can make you a star. I can make you better. I can do, so my pitch was along, I'm going to make you a better player. I can't pay you, but I'm going to make you a better player, which now you can then go get paid.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. It's very complimentary of our show, which is very nice. Thank you, Fake Maker.
Thank you, Fake Maker.
Got a quick question here. When a player has clearly started losing the battle against time or lifestyle, how hard is it to make the call to cut or to not renew a contract? That'd be the hardest thing in coaching. Yes.
That's hard. I mean, when you got someone that you've been with, like I was with Gibbo for 8 years, and it was really hard that last year he kind of was, well, I'm going to take a look out there, and I was kind of like, yeah, go ahead. Because we knew Sobey was coming through and that he was going to be, a star in the league, and he was going to be jumping Gibbo's minutes that next year either way. And so, yeah, it's really hard. Really hard. I've cried, put it like that.
Yeah, I don't doubt that. I've had to cut players. It's not fun. I'm a teacher by day. This is the Fake Maker. And I hate movies about teaching because they're never very well represented. As a journalist and coach, do you like or dislike films about journalism and coaching? Well, I'll throw it to you coaching, and I'll talk about the journalism one. Like Coach Carter or any of those.
I'm not a big fan of them for one or two reasons. If it's a good movie, a good sports movie, now I got my competitive juices going. It's 9:00 at night, and I'm ready to go practice and shoot some hoops, and my energy levels come up way too high if it's a good movie, if it's a good sports movie. And then if it's not a good sports movie, I'm like, this is trash. This is not realistic. That'll never happen. They would never say that. They never do that. This is stupid. And so I don't enjoy it either. So in sports movies, I try to stay away.
I found the same with most movies about journalism, that they don't really capture what goes on. There's exceptions to that. There was a series on TV on Fox called Newsroom that really did capture what the atmosphere was like for me at an afternoon newspaper, because it was always, deadline coming up, you're racing around. It was really exciting. And there's a movie called The Paper starring Michael Keaton and some other, Glenn Close, some other, Robert Duvall, real good people in the movie. That is a pretty accurate portrayal of what goes on in a newspaper office. But generally I find exactly the same thing. I go, no, that's not what would happen. No, he wouldn't have said that. They would have investigated this way. They wouldn't have dismissed that. So mostly I find them frustrating.
Yeah. So.
All right, and we've got Swerdner, 1970, who sends us just 3 words. Joey, it's Illawarra.
I know.
Not Wollongong. Okay.
Hey, I'm just still learning these places in Australia after 25 years. Give me a break.
Okay. Quick bit of NBA. Did you see the last? Obviously, you would have seen the Josh Giddey, Chicago Bulls versus Lakers, and your man, your favourite player, the GOAT to you, LeBron James.
Don't give me LeBron. It's too.
Oh, sorry, that's off air.
Yeah.
So, like, he screwed up 3 times in a row. He didn't go at the guy in the corner that hit the 3, White. He did the lazy pass that Josh intercepted for the assist for another 3.
So
And then after, he's human. But I'm just saying that I thought that was a little ordinary. But Giddey, how about that shot?
The shot was amazing. That was amazing. It's funny. The story is all those mistakes before the shot.
Yeah,
that's the story.
I'm going to be the only one that says this, but he travelled. All right.
What's that?
Yes, that's good. Okay, and Paddy Mills, our man Paddy Mills, is now second all time in 3-pointers made for anybody coming off the bench, behind Kyle Korver. So it's another achievement for Paddy, who's our first guy to make 1,000 games, and is featured in this book.
Which is,
I don't know, so, but it's
very
well written.
Okay.
You should have read it. I'm pretty sure I
I
gave you
probably
did. All right, we'll be back in just a minute. We're back with the final segment, Coach's Corner. Lay it on us, Joey.
Look, it's been an ongoing debate between players and agents, believe it or not, on whether our star players, players are on the borderline. Should they go and play summer league, or do they stay here, recoup, and recover? I think some of the guys will probably be on summer league age and opportunity. And would it be better for them to stay here? What are your thoughts on?
Yeah, I sort of think that even take a bit of a rest and then play in a lesser comp, like the NBL 1 competitions that are available all around Australia, where you're under less pressure and you can maybe develop a few other skills that you want to put back into play. So you're in control of that situation. If you go to summer league, you're trying to impress your buzz and your button. And yeah, I tend to agree that might be better, especially when you pass about 25.
Yeah.
It's like you're kidding yourself a little bit. Yeah.
I'd say first year out, or even first 2 years out, give it a go.
Yeah.
But after then, your typical route is not in the NBA through summer league. You still might get there, but typically it's not going to be through summer league. It'll be through a free agent deal, signing outright or whatever. But it's probably not through the summer league. It might be even through the G League, but not through summer league. So I would say if it's after your first couple of years, keep it moving. A good example would be Lachlan, Olbrich. Yeah, whether he should go or stay. I think Lachlan, at his point in his career, he should go. Lachlan would only be a senior in college.
Yeah, he's 20.
Yeah, he's such a young prospect. I think it'd be perfect for him to go, even in the first year, just to learn what it's about. Because in 3 or 4 years, I could see him in the NBA.
Okay, that's it for us this week, but we're going to be back and continuing on through the off-season. We've got a lot of special features for you. We're going to be investigating a number of teams. The free agents list comes out at the end of the week. We'll be having a good look at the Sydney Kings next week, I think. Possibly maybe Melbourne United. But those of you that want to leave us some comments, if you want to ask us some challenging things about the Kings, feel free. And in the meantime, subscribe while Joey and I go and discuss headwear for next week.